Ladies and gentlemen of the Royal Priesthood Order, it is our pleasure to introduce Shoriwa Sean Benjamin, a Forbes Under 30 honorary and globally recognized leader in artificial intelligence and education. As the founder of its Learnable, Sean is revolutionizing access to quality education and upscaling individuals worldwide. A member of the World Economic Forum's Education and Innovation Cohort, Sean's work has been supported by global institutions, driving equitable access to technology and learning. As a sought-after speaker, Sean shares insights on building impactful tech solutions rooted in purpose, creativity, and inclusion. His work continues to influence how emerging technologies can drive meaningful change at scale. Please join us in welcoming the visionary, Shoriwa Sean Benjamin.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time, and it is a privilege to be amongst yourselves and to speak to you and to give you a bit of piece of my knowledge and what I've gotten to learn and understand over the past couple of years as an innovator in the IT space. And so, as the introduction said, my name is Shoriwa Sean Benjamin, all protocol observed. I am a self-taught software engineer. I am the lead, thank you. I am the lead developer at my business. It's called It's Learnable. It's based in America. It's also based in South Africa, but we're mainly headquartered in South Africa. I travel around the world, doing things like these, talking to people, World Economic Forum and people under, the Forbes badge, Deloitte, etc. As the intro just said. But I think a lot of that stuff you can find online just by Googling my name, and you can, take your time with that when you have a moment. But today I want to have a conversation with you because I think I want to share a more personal side of myself, what happens behind the scenes as these things are building up, as we're making these kind of products. And I think that's something that's always missing when we do these kinds of talks. We talk about the glamour, the fancy things, but we don't talk about things that happened in the background and how we actually get there. And when I show you, you'll find that we are not so different from each other. I'm not a king, but I want to correlate my story to the story of David. And I want you to hear me out. I think a lot of what we get praised for in public has to do with what we did in the dark, what we did when no one was looking. And it's the same with King David. King David was a shepherd. When they came looking for a king and they asked for him, they went through every other brother's name except for him. Until the last minute, they said, there's this one guy, but Arumakomum, Harpurwane with all kinds of lions and bears and Amenoswarki Taikoko.
He's in the mountain somewhere.
He's in the mountain somewhere. And those were things that God had seen that made him worthy of a king, that people were not seeing, even the people around him were not seeing it. And then that's the side of my life that I want to show you. So everything has got humble beginnings. That's myself on the left. So as a self-taught software engineer, the hardest thing for myself was finding someone who believes me enough to give me a job. Because I didn't have a degree, it was very difficult. So you kind of knew how to code, but no one believed enough in you to actually say, okay, here's some money, do this 24/7 or 5 days a week, and etc. So what I started doing was I started taking part in hackathons. Every single day, I was known, I used to use combis to get to the internet cafe, use the internet cafe, then go home at night. And the people with the taxis used to know me as Mfano laptop bag.
The guy with the lacto bag.
Yes, the guy with the laptop bag. So they used to know me by that name because every single day at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I was there with my laptop bag waiting for a taxi, just enough money to go there into town, pay my $1 for internet cafe, use the internet, and come back home in the evening. And then I said, look, I'm still not getting any better. Let me start taking part in hackathons. Hackathons are basically events where programmers and coders come together and you compete to see who can make the best algorithm, who can make the best program in a short amount of time. And I started winning them one by one. Each and every single one. I think first place, second place. So I started using that as my degree. When people say like, wakasara kupi degree ra guru kupi, na aiwa Google my name by internet, page yakada also by Herald. Uchaona picture yangu. You see my picture.
When they ask me what I studied and where, I'll tell them, Google me, you'll see me.
So in doing that, my passion was always making mobile games. I've made some games when I was still based in Zimbabwe, in Harare, that became very viral. Some of them you might have heard of, and they were covered in a lot of spaces. These were things that I was always doing in my spare time, not being paid for, not having anyone set a deadline for me or saying that you need to get such and such done at this quality by this time for you to get paid. I was doing them out of passion and for myself because I really loved them. So while I was doing this, there were some very, very key factors that I picked up in myself as things were going on. Even though things were not perfect in the beginning, I always make sure that I consume as much information as I could. Information is democratized. You don't have to, if you want to learn about a certain topic right now, you don't necessarily have to go and buy a book. But these phones, the devices that you have in your hands, they're more useful for more things than just social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can learn a lot of things and upskill yourself just by using a phone. And we're getting into the age of AI where people's skills become obsolete very quickly, which means that if you learn something today, in the next 6 months, it may need to be relearned or tweaked, or you need to add something to it for it to remain relevant. So it's very important for you to start living in an age where you're using your phone for more than just social media, because there's so much information out there. And look, some of you guys have got iPhones. You spent close to $1,000 on a phone over Facebook just to swipe through Facebook. It does so much more than that. And you used to upskill yourself and allow yourself to just do a lot more with it. Thirdly, you don't always need funding. I think the theory of funding is just a theory. You don't always need funding, especially when you're starting out. Start doing whatever you can in wherever you are, and people will find you. Be resourceful with what you already have. People will find you. And in doing that over the past couple of years, I've made a lot of games in my spare time until I received a call from MTN. And this was around the time when the World Cup was coming up, and the Springboks were playing in France. And they said, look, we've been trying to make a game like this, and we've been unable to do it, but we've seen some things through social media that you've done, and we think you might be able to pull it off. It has to be done in this way. You have about a month to do it, and this is going to be our official game. I took on the job, and that's what became this game on the left called Box Stars. So yeah, that's a game. So if you know anything about, those of you that are studying programming and coding, this game is running in your web browser. It's not a game that you download. You just open a page and it starts playing a 3D game. That was the tricky part about pulling off this game. And after having developed that game, they asked me, look, you seem to be the guy who can make like local, fun, interesting games. And then they tasked me again to make another game for them. That's the one that became one called Gusheje Burnouts. This is the most downloaded game on Telkom Store, on Vodacom Store, and on MTN's store as well. And they all work on your mobile browser. You don't have to download them or anything. They call them instant playable games. And with that being done, I think I was now in a different space. Something that I also want you to learn from me that I learned later on in stage is that learn to read the room. I remember meeting a guy that asked me, before I started working on these games, they asked me, how much did you charge for the work that you did for X and X company, like 5 years ago? I told him how much it was. And I'll never forget the look on his face, because he took off his glasses and he looked into the distance and said, wow, that's not even enough to buy the new iMac. And I was hurt, like, wow, am I invoicing incorrectly? And that's when I learned you have to learn to read the room. So by the time I started dealing with the MTNs, dealing with the Vodacoms, dealing with World Economic Forum, I knew exactly how to charge. and how to present myself in the best way possible that requires and demands that value out of people. And that's something that you really have to learn, because as you're scaling yourself, you start small. Don't be trapped being small for too long, because today you're going to do a job for 500. Next thing you know, after about a year, you get a client that's worthy of paying 500,000. You won't see it because your mind is not able to read the room efficiently. And it's very, very important to learn that as you start growing yourself, not only in business, but as an individual who's selling themselves in the market as an employee when you're done with your studies or when you do start studying. So that's a very, very key point that I wanted to address with you. So yeah, so as Vodacom and etc. started coming along, I was enjoying making games, and then bigger opportunities came. People started to know more and more about me, and I think there were a lot of opportunities that I could have turned down because I was passionate about making games. I used to always say like, no, that's my passion. I love making games. Making games is it's what I do. It's what I was made for. And then opportunities would come, and then I would want to turn them down. But I learned to always not to follow your passion. I know it sounds contradictory, but it's very important as you're building yourself up. Don't follow your passion. Follow opportunity first, because opportunities will come at you. And just because it's not aligned with your passion doesn't mean that you have to turn it down, because sometimes God blesses you in ways that you don't realize immediately. And I think God doesn't use his own hand. Make sure you squeeze as much value as you can out of every connection that you have, out of every opportunity that's presented to you. That's very, very key and very, very important. And you know what? How passions build up in your mind? It's very simple. You do something, you get praised for it, and you get compensated for it. That's how your passion builds in your mind. And you'd be surprised at how your passion does develop and quickly changes over the course of your career just by following different opportunities. So I did that, and that's how I got into education. We're tasked by the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education to make a VR game, which was very tricky for me to do, but we came out and did it anyways. It was very, very specific to the education sector, and we said, okay, look, this is not what we normally do, but we can probably pull it off. So we made the first VR game in Zimbabwe. Which is like a cattle breeding game where you sort of take care of cattle, and it was actually used by students to be graded by how they respond in the virtual world, how when they're taking care of the cattle. Yeah, that's happened. They're taking the temperature. So on to the next one. So while all this is happening, you'd think that we were, flying high, enjoying ourselves. We were very well compensated, but this was around the same amount. This was around the same time. We were in the office. That's my colleague. His name is Costa. He's fallen asleep. This must have been around 1 a.m. in the morning, and we're still building, making things as best that we can, regardless of the success we've already seen, making sure that we're always on the playing field. Always, as if you're an athlete, they call it always be in the gym. When you stop playing, you always practice, you go back, and you make sure that you're always the best at what you're doing, so that when people come at you to compete with you in your industry, you can confidently defend your industry and confidently defend what you're working towards. In came the era of AI, and we were so well prepared. A lot of people were not prepared with AI because AI was not paying for a long time. But we were busy playing around with AI before, ChatGPT even came out. We knew about ChatGPT too, and we started playing around with it a long time ago. So when it blew up, we were so many steps ahead of everyone else in understanding the technology and what it takes to actually build something. We started building something that was going to be useful in 2 years from what we were seeing. And people were trying to build something that's immediate. There's a guy who's an athlete, I'm forgetting his name. He said something very, very profound, where he says, when you're playing a game of, when you're boxing in the sport, you're not trying to hit someone where they are. You're trying to hit them where they're going to be. So when we saw AI cropping up, we said, no, We're not going to do large language models. We're not going to do any of these things. We're going straight to video. It was an impossible task. It was very difficult. So the way that AI works, if you can show the diagram again. So on the left, these are called GPUs. We use GPUs to train what are called AI models. AI models are computer systems that if you put something into it, it spits out something else that's been converted to whatever you train that model to do. So this is for training for a video model on the right. So when you're training an AI model, you're basically showing it a picture. And you say, look, draw this picture. And every time you don't draw this picture as an AI model, I'm taking a mark away from you. And the computer tries, it fails. Then you take a mark away from it. And then that's all being done automatically by code. So this machine on the left, the GPUs, there's about 8 of them stacked into one. They do 10 billion tests in the matter of 2 seconds. They can do 10 billion tries, 10 billion attempts, 10 billion attempts. And they're very, very expensive. Each one of those, there are 4 of them stacked together, each one of those cost $120,000 to buy one. And for you to stack them like this, that's almost $1 million in hardware. Just hardware alone. And we spent a lot of time just trying to raise money to get these things. And, you know, true to our resourcefulness, what we did instead, we came into a barter deal with Microsoft, Deloitte, and all these other partners to allow us to get, you know, access to some of these GPUs and sort of like on a rental on a monthly basis. And we just rent one out, we use it for a couple of hours, then we give it back. We rent it, a few hours later, we give it back. And we started training our AI model. And thank you. So this is a video of me in the final stages of training. This is actually at my home office. And this is the thing that you don't see when you finally see the AI training and running. So you're basically watching it as it's trying, it's doing multiple attempts, and every time it goes red, it failed, and you keep tweaking your code to make sure that the AI gets it right. And because you have only a couple of hours, otherwise Microsoft is going to charge you $100,000. You only have a couple of hours to do this. You have to do this very, very quickly, or maybe even at 1 a.m. in the morning, when the GPUs are not being used. And once that's done, you have your output. But when you put everything together, our output costs 90% of our revenue, what was going towards the training costs. We made a lot of money over the past couple of years, but 90% of it went towards the hardware and the training costs, just so that we can output the AI that I'm about to show you now. So this video, this person doesn't exist. This video was made in less than 5 minutes just by uploading a book about Web 3.0. And it made the entire video by itself.
CEO emphasized it signifies a more personalized, accurate, and intelligent internet. Operating with high-speed internet and high-end 3D graphics, the framework of Web 3.0 offers promise towards immensely enhancing virtualization on the internet. Imagine a world where documents can intelligently translate to other languages, catering to global communication effortlessly. Akiri artificial intelligence is seen as the cornerstone of Web 3.0. 3 primary trends dominate this technology revolution. First, intelligence. Web 3.0 aims to become more intelligent using artificial tools and techniques, improving human-computer interaction. Second, personalization. Here, individual preferences are crucial, adding a depth of personal touch like never seen before. Third, and perhaps most exciting, is that...
Right. So I just want to... Thank you. Right. So in making all of this, in making this platform, you'd ask yourself, why are we doing this? Why are we sitting, you know, in Africa, in a continent with so much poverty and so much inequality, and we're trying to develop something like this? I think the only true way to democratize education is by using automation. And I don't mean automation as in replacing the teacher, but I mean automation as in allowing a teacher in a village somewhere in the middle of Shushawani to take out their phone that they use for WhatsApp, enter some things about a subject, and get a whole lesson for their learners and some assessments and pass it down to them. Because the unfortunate thing is that even though information is democratized, the cost of accessing that information is still very, very high, which is why our platform, it always strives to make sure the video is very short, very bite-sized, and easy to send to someone on WhatsApp. Because people that pay for what we call bundles, they pay disproportionately more for internet compared to someone who pays for an unlimited, home broadband, for example, because you're paying maybe $1 per day for WhatsApp access alone, and you need to make sure that the dollar stretches as far as it can. So you not only use your WhatsApp for communicating with your loved ones, but you can now also use your WhatsApp for learning as well via video through our AI. And we also have what we call voice lessons, where if you would rather not learn from a complete video, you can actually have a voice speak to you, and it can be your own personalized tutor that you interact with, even at 1 a.m. in the morning if you'd like preparing for your exams. So, digitization versus digitalization. The video on the left, when COVID-19 came, so I was doing our projects in South Africa, and the South African government gave us a hard drive, this big hard drive, 1 terabyte. They said, no, don't worry, we are prepared for COVID-19, we have a lot of digital content. Here, learnable, you distribute the material for us. We were so excited. We were preparing our blog posts. This is amazing. Until we opened the hard drive and we saw one video is 1.3 gigabytes for one subject in one lesson. There's no child in the middle of rural South Africa or rural anywhere in the world who's going to download 1.3 gigabytes video to do a 1 hour lesson. That it didn't make any sense. So we took that material, we started making our own one, converting it into something more bite-sized and much smaller so that we can easily distribute it. And that's the video on the right. 99% smaller, 3% of the length. Very, very short, quick, to the point. And it's made for the internet. Oh, okay.
We are going to take a look at one of the most contemporary economic issues, inflation. Now, during this class, I will help you to understand what inflation is, to understand the history of inflation, and also to analyze the different types and causes and the results of inflation. We are going to use diagrams and illustrations to explain this topic. You can follow along with the provided course material. Please download.
So you can learn about inflation in your spare time. We'll give you guys some access to this. Right. So how does our platform work? If you have a book or a PDF, or even if you take pictures of pages in your book, all you have to do is go on the platform, upload it, step number 1. Step number 2, it will actually ask you, how much time do you have to learn this subject? And based on that, it will make your own learning path. It will ask you maybe for a minute every single day, or 5 minutes, or 5 minutes twice a day. And it will make videos like the one that's on the right. So in the beginning, in the beginning, a lot of our compute was very expensive, because once we have these machines from Microsoft, the contract was that when we go live, we need to start paying for the use every single month. So if you hire a car and you only use one seat in the car, you can't go to the person you hired the car for and say, no, but I was just using one seat, so can you charge me, half price or a quarter of the price? It doesn't work like that. The car is yours, it's on, and we start billing you immediately. So idle compute is very expensive. We had a lot of idle compute because there weren't that many people accessing our platform before they knew too much about it. And we had these big machines just sitting. Some of them were in my office at home, and some of them were virtually, at Microsoft headquarters. And these things are so powerful that when you turn one on, the people that have come to my house, when you turn the machines on, number one, they're very loud, but they use so much power that when you turn them on, you see the lights dim a little bit. That's how much power they consume. So these things are expensive, just keep running 24/7. And we had a lot of them. So idle compute is very expensive, and they were all very idle. So what did we do? Merging the game development as well as the AI stuff that we're doing, we started creating what are called 5G games. These are games that run virtually on a remote server somewhere, and someone can just log on their phone and start using those games. So we started renting these games out to different mobile network providers. The one on the far right is being used in Nigeria. It's a soccer game. It's almost like FIFA, but it's running virtually on one of our machines. The one on the left, you might be familiar with. It's being used here in Zimbabwe. It's called My Kids Hub. That's also an It's Learnable product. So while this is all happening, we're able to pay for using the service while we're still scaling up our AI venture and making sure that more and more of that GPU and CPU power is being used by the AI platform. And even outside of that, we managed to garner partnerships with a lot of, we've been blessed over the past couple of years with a lot of the biggest players on the continent, to the point where late last year, MTN actually took up It's Learnable, which is our product, and made it their main education initiative platform. So if you go on anything on MTN's website, anywhere in Africa where education is involved, you see powered by It's Learnable on the bottom in everywhere you go to. So in doing that, we actually were on a road to becoming one of the largest LMS platforms on the continent. We have amassed 800,000 users so far on our platform, active users. And I can tell you, right now, we are the second. We were the third biggest a month ago, but now we've become the second biggest. And the difference between number 2 and number 1 is huge. I think number 1 has got about 20-something million users. But with our estimates and with our AI platform involved, I estimate that by the end of 2026, we should be close to that, or if not the biggest e-learning platform on the continent. And something that I also want to drive with you is that when you're doing this, it's very important to be hands-on. As I was saying about the humble beginnings, it's everything that you're doing in the beginning. Don't call it tedious, don't call it torture or suffering. You're learning more and more about your industry, about your craft, what works, what doesn't work. It may not be the most pleasant experience, but you need those lessons. Those lessons will make you permanent in your whatever industry you get into. That's why in everything, most videos, pictures with my team at It's Learnable, you almost always find me also in there, because I want to make sure that we're doing everything right. And if there is a problem, we can solve the problem immediately along the way. So all is fair and fine. We've been building this thing. It's amazing. It's fun. It's great. It's working beautifully. It's working perfectly. Then you have something called a game of unintended consequences, where you make something. It almost feels like a game of, I think it's called whack-a-mole, where you hit one of those moles and one of them pops out somewhere else, and you have to keep like chasing after them and hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. You'll face those a lot in whatever industry you're doing. I don't care how pre-planned you are, how learned you are, it doesn't matter. I saw a tweet some time ago where someone said that if something is urgent, it means it wasn't important. I don't believe in that. I think if something is urgent, it is important. Life happens. You meet things that are urgent. You meet things that are supposed to be delivered before, in a nearly impossible deadline. It doesn't mean you must treat them as things that are because the client failed to plan, so I'm not gonna I'll take their money and I'm just gonna give them this. Treat them with the same urgency that you treat anything else. If it means now you're not going home at 5 o'clock, you're going home at 10. Treat it in the same way. It's urgent and it's important. And I really think when you're running your businesses or when you get into your fields of study or in the industry that you're starting to start working in, you meet a lot of those things. And you must never be that person who says like, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, yeah, chai. I need to do 5 o'clock. Then you go, oh, this is still important. No, oh, what orangwa? It's very, very important to treat everything with the right type of urgency that it deserves, because those things do happen, and that's life. As we're making these platforms, right, I think one key thing that I wanted to drive home with you is that the vision for us at It's Learnable is to take someone from their infancy to grade 1, to Form 6, to higher education, finish their higher education, and help them get a job. Those are the pillars of It's Learnable. Those are the ones that we're building towards. And we were able to build the first 2 parts over the past couple of months. I said I'm going to show you something that we are still working on, but they're just about to be that a very important pillar of our Learnable platform. And that's something called CV Express. Once you're done with your studies, the first thing you want to do is to get a job. And I think that something that we've seen as Africans over the past couple of decades is that a lot of these jobs, they ask you to write your CV in English. And most of us are not first language English speakers. So even though we're competent, we fail to present ourselves in the best way to actually get that job. So that's why we made this AI called CV Express. And it's launching in South Africa right now.
Jobs. Here's how you can do too with less effort. This new AI makes the perfect CV for you in just 30 seconds. CVExpress.co.za almost guarantees you land your ideal job for just a few seconds of work. Just open CVExpress.co.za. If you already have a CV, it'll find jobs that fit your skills and not just what you studied. Don't have a CV? Enter your name, talk about yourself for 30 seconds, and voila! Download the CV or add context to flesh it out. Since it also finds vacancies that match your CV. If you see a job you like, click show, then optimize. In seconds, CVExpress.co.za will help fine-tune your CV for that vacancy, making you stand out as a top applicant. Currently, there's a sale. Visit CVExpress.co.za and land your dream job before it's gone.
So if you can see, with projects like My Kids Hub, which is available right now on Econet for you to use for your children if you want them to study and learn while they're playing with their tablet and not just watch YouTube videos. There's My Kids Hub, which takes children that are still in their infancy. And then we have It's Learnable. And alongside with partnerships like MTN Online and, and Vodacom and etc., we now take the same kids through grade 1 all the way until they finish their form 6. After that, you can still use the same It's Learnable platform in your higher learning journey. And once you're done with the higher learning journey, you want to start actually getting a job. That's when you have CV Express. And we want to bundle all of these things into a combo that we take a child from infancy all the way to actually helping you get a job. And we're focusing aggressively on Africa because we have a lot of neglected markets. I know there are a lot of opportunities out there for, things like this, in the Americas and etc. But we strongly feel that we can make the most impact here in Africa. Someone once told me that when you're good at dancing, kind of move people will go crazy for.
You got that one special dance move.
You don't do that dance move in a crowd of 100 other people. You have to find your own spot somewhere where no one else is dancing. Then you rush to that spot and you show them what you got. That's how they'll see you. So with those slides, I wanted to also just give you some pointers to take home with you. And with these, you can never go wrong. Number 1, make yourself useful. Anywhere you go, make yourself very useful. It doesn't matter what industry it is, it doesn't matter what job it is. If you're still working your way up, just find ways to make yourself useful. Number 2, this was a quote by Steve Jobs. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. Meaning that certain opportunities will come at you in life. And just because it's not aligned with where you're going, doesn't mean you have to turn it down. Sometimes your story, it's like a meal. It has spices, it has beef, it's got vegetables, it has all kinds of things. Don't reject those things just because they're not fully aligned with who you are and where you're going. But one day when you look back, you see how all those choices were navigating you around by taking specific steps to take you to where you're supposed to be. And through God as well. Prayer is very important, prayer is very powerful. Praying, fasting, to make sure that it's God that's leading you where you're going. And another one that's very, very important. When someone offers you a seat on a plane, don't ask which seat, just go. Don't ask, bane aircon,
There
you get an opportunity, take it. Don't ask, oh, is there an aircon? Would there be this? Would there be that? Oh, no, I usually prefer this. Just take it and go for it. Number 4, the world has become very, very small because of computers and the internet. Whatever you're making here, if you make it good enough, you're not only selling to the 4 or 5 million potential customers in Zimbabwe, but you also have the world that you can sell it to. Make sure you open yourself up to the world and not just to a smaller market. And number 5, it's called Goodhart's Law. And it says, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. So if I'm to apply it to yourselves, when you're going to university solely for the sake of, I want to get 80%, 90%, and there's another 100,000 of you, that ceases to be a good measure of your competence in that specific field. Make sure to immerse yourself beyond just getting 90%. Because you go home 3 days a week, read your books, then the other 2 days you're partying and having fun and just ignoring everything else. Immerse yourself in whatever you're doing so that when you do come out, you're fully well-rounded and you're able to compete in the industry that has evolved by the time you come out. And the final one, this one came up as a last-minute addition from my team, and we're still working on just incorporating it in. But we want to give everyone that's at RAIN 1 month free access to CV Express. It's learnable, and all of our products just by using the code RAIN 2025. And a bonus one, don't shy away from the lions that you're fighting. Take it with stride, because you could be David in the mountain fighting lions, in Chinwe Prayer Mountain, fighting the lions and bears of no internet, of no, no network. Take it with stride and fight your way through, because one day when you look back and you connect the dots, your story will be worthy of a novel, a book, a biography. So that's all for me. I love sharing information on my social media, so let's connect. And that's our website, that's my email address. If you ever need anything, any advice, any tips, I'm always open to hearing people out. So thank you very much. So we're going to go into the question segment of my talk. So if there are any questions, I think there are microphones coming around.
Thank you for this opportunity. So I recently got in the marketing of laptops. So I discovered that in Harare, there are only 2 people that can fix a BIOS. So it just took me 3 days to learn how to fix a BIOS. So recently, I'm the 3rd person in Harare to fix a BIOS.
Well done.
So I'm spending most of my time doing coding and programming. I just wanted if you can assist me in programming and coding. It's my passion.
Okay. So to answer that question, I will keep the answer very short. If I ask you to show me what you've tried to program before by yourself, and you don't have anything, I can't assist you.
I can show you something.
Okay, cool. So let's talk. All right. Well, it's very important to try things with whatever you have. That's the most important key factor. No one's going to come and pick you up and take you through, the handhold you and take you through all the steps until you're successful. Keep trying different things. We all have 24 hours. And I know if we check most people's phones, how much time they spend on social media, it's at least 4 to 6 hours a day. So you can utilize that time doing something better and upskilling yourself and just trying something with what you have. More questions?
Okay, thank you, sir, for your time. All right, my question is, I feel like in Zimbabwe, there are a lot of young creative thinkers, and their ideas are brilliant, and they're just going away because they cannot be connected to the rest of the world or bigger business. So I was going to ask, can there be room for a platform where these creative thinkers can be, I don't know, put together and be able to be connected to the rest of the world and explore their ideas?
So I would say yes, there can be room. There are rooms like that. There are, tech hubs, these incubators that are all over Zimbabwe. But I also want to say that how do I put this? If you are trying to make something, firstly, we're talking about ideas. Are we talking about ideas or are we talking about products that are being built?
Let me just say both.
Because an idea is of no value at all. You need to try to build something. Take part in some of these programs that they have and try to start building something. It doesn't have to be perfect, but start getting somewhere. Then once you start getting somewhere, then you can start looking out for the kind of support that you're looking for. Once you start, trying to make your idea into something more tangible. I know if you've got access to a phone, if it's something that's online related. Look, I invited my mother and father here. My mother, she'll tell you a story if you ask her, of when I was making a website on her phone because my laptop had gotten stolen, and I was finishing off, those old Nokias that you flip open like that, and I was trying to type out as much as I can on just by using a mobile phone. But there are a lot of tools that you can get access to. If you don't have access to that tool, there's programs that I can introduce you to some of them that can give you access to those tools just to start building something before you start saying that I have a valuable idea. Sound good?
Yes, I think it's good for now.
Okay.
So to just cut to the chase, right? I
Yeah.
am a software engineer working at GEMF, and I deal with iOS ecosystem, MacBooks, iPhones, and etc. So I'm 20, and okay. So, right, as a 20-year-old, right, growing in this male-dominated industry is a bit difficult. So basically my question is, how do I make sure I grow and climb the corporate ladder without being looked down upon? Because I'm a software engineer too and I'm 20, meaning in less than 10 years, I want to be the chief executive, of the organization that I'm working for. But then in 10 years' time, I'll be 30. So how do I make sure that I'm not undermined because of my age? Accompanying that question being, should I also focus on climbing the corporate ladder, or should I look into, after growing and attaining as much skill as I can in this organization, can I look forward to being a freelancer or starting my own startup?
Yeah. So, I'm not an expert in the equality field, but I think from what you've asked, both questions have the same answer. I would say the best way to climb the corporate ladder, especially if you're 20, that's a huge advantage, is to tell people things they don't know. When you're young, social media, all these things, Tell people, show them things that they have not seen by themselves. You'd be surprised. I've got so many of my friends that are driving Porsches in Cape Town, all from social media marketing. They went to a very, very old company and they said, look, we can handle your social media stuff for you. The social media stuff is what they were telling them. And this company is making a turnover of about 20 million rand a month. Said, look, give us 100,000 rand a month. We'll make your online presence look beautiful. The company agrees to it because they were showing them things that company has never seen before. Most of the people that are leading the company are quite mature people, and they're hardly even on social media. So tell people they don't know, show them things that they don't normally see, and be a thought leader on those topics, and you climb the corporate ladder. They will promote you, in my view. Oh, and also to tie into that answer, that thing about, if you have a good dance move, you need to go somewhere where you stand by yourself. So if you can isolate what you're doing at work into something that, you specialize in, and isolate yourself so that you make sure you stand out, and people are like, no, Takuzwa is an expert in social media. Every time we need something done in Excel, he or she knows how to do it. They'll always find you valuable, and they will promote you for that.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I really want to acknowledge the fact that you were able to enter into a very stiff market. And so the question that I do have is, how were you able to enter into such a market, and how were you able to convince the learning sector? Because we all know that teachers and the education sector are really rigid when it comes to applications based on software development, and so they're very rigid onto that. So how were you able to get into that and try to convince them to take your application?
So, first of all, I wasn't. Because another story about how It's Learnable came about, it came about around the time COVID-19 started, and we were still building it, and we were getting feedback from the customers to hear what would be useful as a learning platform. And then COVID-19 came. Every government in the world immediately scrambled to grab a complete product that already existed. We weren't finished making the thing, so they completely sidelined. Half of COVID, we were completely on the sidelines. While we were still building this, we decided to say, look, let's take, because now that COVID-19 is hit, every teacher knows somewhat about online remote learning, whether it's through WhatsApp, whether it's through a computer, whether it's through Google, whatever, all these programs. And we started taking their feedback. What do you like about the thing that you're using? What don't you like? And they loved that, because every single teacher was frustrated during COVID-19 with it doesn't matter what you gave them, they were frustrated. Started taking that feedback, and with that feedback, we started finishing off It's Learnable as a platform, giving it away for free every now and then. It was a side project for a very long time. The games were the main project. It was a side project until it became the main project, because it started to flourish, and more teachers found it very easy and useful to use. And it also ties into what I was saying in the beginning about being hands-on. Always be hands-on. When you're doing presentations, don't just say, no, this person will represent me. Try it yourself to always be hands-on. Take feedback. Take criticism. If people say, no, I would never use your platform, don't get angry. Just ask them why. Most people are open to telling you exactly why they will not use the platform. And the thing that I love about teachers and teachers in Africa, they're not opinionated. If it works, it works. I don't care. I don't care if it's being whatever. Don't use myservice.com. She will enter don't use myservice.com because it's working, and she will start using it. So that's in my view. Make sure you get feedback, and make sure that you're actually adding tangible value, and you record that value that you're adding. Put it on the forefront. Show people, okay, cool. If you go to this platform, you get this, but if you come to us, this is what you get in addition. And this time we're talking about learning, but when you're talking about the corporate space, in terms of corporate clients, it's usually how are you going to save them money. If you can save people money, they'll always take on your product, but show them how. Bring something tangible. It mustn't just sound like a good thing or a good idea. It has to be tangible on paper. This is how it will benefit you. And only a fool will tell you no.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to ask a simple question. Um, what language or languages would you recommend for somebody who's beginning to learn AI, and why?
I, I want to answer that question, but at the same time, I don't want to answer that question because I don't want you to be limited in your what you're exploring. I would recommend Python. Python is taking over quite a bit, and this is it for the developers out there. I might hear them go boo when I say the next thing, but I don't like Node.js, in my view. It's not. So if you're going to learn how to code, stick to Python. I think languages like Node.js, they're very up and down, you know. They're very all over the place. There's always something new, some new framework coming out every single month. And you end up learning something for 6 months, then realize, oh, now it's so obsolete. There's another new thing that came out. Ground yourself in a language like Python. Then the other ones can be like your side languages, but something like Python and maybe even PHP as well. Not for AI, PHP, but PHP for web applications.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess there are no more questions. But in closing, I want to just add a little bit more to his question about languages. So the reason why I didn't want to answer that question about what language you should use to learn AI is because I wanted you to go and ask AI that question. And then it's going to give you a complete breakdown. Then you choose, based on what it's told me, what benefits me, what doesn't benefit me, what fits into my context, what doesn't fit me. And also I always tell people on my team this, that if you ask me a question and you haven't asked AI, just don't bother asking me a question. Go ask the AI first, and then if you can't get it, if it gets it wrong, then you can come and ask me a question. So try to use AI as much as possible. You know, this tool, it lives in your phone. This is a tool that literally lives in your phone that you can ask just about any question that you want to ask it, and it will answer it instantly with facts and information. So yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.